What are you doing? Are you starting an MMA organization, or you know? And then you got Oscar, this fucking idiot again, in the car that night. Come with us and make more money than you've ever made in your life. We heard that before. Chuck Liddell's here tonight. Grab him, ask him if he made more money than he ever made in his whole life when he went with Oscar De La Hoya. You know what I mean? But you guys keep asking me about these idiots. You guys know they're a fucking joke, but you keep asking me about them when you know they're a joke. You know this is bullshit. You know they're all full of shit, and you know what I mean? But this is what you want. You want me to do this. And I try not to do it, and I can't help myself. But I don't care what they're doing. Fucking go away. Go do whatever you're doing. Stop texting me. Stop calling me. And stop fucking asking the media to ask me things. Okay? Beat it. Get lost.
Derrick Lewis is back here doing a guest fighter scrum. He's saying he was hoping to make the fight against Francis officially official. Have you had an opportunity to talk to him while you're in Houston?
Ask me that question again.
Derrick Lewis is back here saying he was hoping that his fight against Francis would become official, and he was hoping to talk to you at some point. Have you had a chance?
Yeah. No, listen. Derrick Lewis is next in line. He's the guy who deserves the shot at the heavyweight championship. And yes, we will get that fight done. And, you know, we're not talking about it yet because it's probably not going to be till mid or late August. So, yeah.
And as of right now, the winner was probably still against Stipe, unless this Jon Jones situation.
Yeah, well, Jon made it very clear he won't fight Stipe, so, yeah.
They're back here.
Yep.
Switching to other people. Give us some insight on the Andrea Lee and that performance that she had earlier.
Yeah, no, it was a good fight. It was a good fight. She looked good. I expected that fight to be exciting, and it was, and good for her.
Well, what about Lando and that crazy fight?
What about what?
Lando Vannata?
Yeah. What about it?
What do you think about that? Kind of set the tone for the rest of the night.
I thought the whole card tonight was awesome, man. I think from the first fight of the night until the main event, you know, it was a great card. These kids, just like in Jacksonville, man. These kids, I was telling them yesterday in the fighter meeting. It's like every week we go out and we get ready for these fights, and these kids just keep delivering, and it's just so much more exciting now being back in these sold-out, packed arenas with the fans here, and it just couldn't be any more fun than it is right now.
What do you do with Caitlyn Kelleher? She's in a weird position because she's beating the contenders. She got smashed by the champ, but she's a very quality. It's like she's in a weird no woman's land.
Yeah, no, that's a great question, and that's the problem when you have somebody that's as good as she is. You know, you got these contenders that are coming up, and you know, she's beating them. It's a good question that I don't have an answer for, sir.
And then he kind of alluded to Jon. Will we see Jon in 2021 fight? Because he fought before the pandemic, so it'll be almost a whole 2 years suspension Jon Jones. I know you want him to get there with the live gate. You got to take advantage of that, right?
Listen, that's up to Jon Jones. You know, whether he wants to fight or not. You know, there's fights available. They're here. I'm going to keep making fights every weekend, doing fights. You know, if Jon Jones wants to fight, he can. If he doesn't, he doesn't have to. Nobody's going to force Jon Jones to fight. He's had a great run. He's got an incredible legacy. You know, I personally see him as the GOAT right now. You got guys that are nipping at his heels, like Usman and some other guys out there. You know, it's up to him. He can fight this summer, or he can never fight again. I mean, that's up to him.
You switch gears on me now. You say you think he's the GOAT. You don't think he needs another belt because you've seen other people do it. So, but very few people have done it. So it's like he's the dude. Everybody would be doing it. Do you think he needs that to put that GOAT stamp? So it won't be no debate?
Well, yeah. I mean, he could do it. I mean, that's like Brady going out and winning another Super Bowl with the Bucks. Obviously, going up to heavyweight, it would be tough to argue. You know, if he wins the title, that he's not the GOAT. But right here, right now, I mean, he could retire and I still consider him the GOAT right now until somebody else accomplishes what he has.
And final question for me. With Chandler getting knocked out decisively, does this switch to Conor and Poirier being the #1 contender fight? Or is that still too far out?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I'm going to see how these fights play out.
I'm trying to help you with your job.
No, I hear you. Thank you.
Hey Dana,
Yep.
during fight week, the CDC came out with their new rules that you don't have to wear a mask if you're vaccinated. Did you notice any difference this week compared to the week in Florida?
No, I don't think so. In Florida, I saw people wear masks and not wear masks. I saw some people with masks and people not wearing masks here, which you guys know how I feel about that. It's the way it should be. If you don't want to wear a mask, you should be able to walk around and go do what you want to do without, big mouth people shooting their mouth off. And if you want to wear a mask, wear a mask. And people shouldn't be shooting their mouth off at you either. So hopefully we can get to a normal place where people who are comfortable with masks can wear them and people who aren't don't have to wear them.
Do you feel any vindication of, what you went through to get back to work with UFC, and now they're changing stance and leading the way to getting back to normalcy?
Guys, I can't. If you look at what's going on with us right now, I mean, it's like a rocket ship. So I knew when I was doing it, it was the right thing to do. Now I know it was the right thing to do. So I've never questioned it from the beginning. So I guess you're asking me, does it feel great to be right? It's like that. That's great.
Have any states reached out to you and said, hey, bring the show here, we need business, we need jobs?
I would, Pete, Dropic, who handles all the arenas, I know that arenas have been reaching out to him. Off the top of my head, I couldn't tell you who. We'll see how this thing plays out, who's going to open up. And, the problem is that I won't go anywhere that's not 100%. I'll only go to places that are 100% open.
Any idea where we'll be in August for the pay-per-view then?
I don't know yet.
Charles Oliveira, jumped the fence, came over. I'm sure you're kind of surprised by his reaction afterwards. He came up to you. What did he say to you?
Yeah, he said, thank you for everything that you've done for me. Tonight was the biggest opportunity of my life, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate it and how much this means to me. And so he's a great kid.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Dana, short guy in the back. Sorry.
Yep.
Loud. Short, loud voice. Talk about the city of Houston in this event, this whole entire week. It was about 16 months ago that we were here in February, and then all this stuff happened. And then what do you expect from Houston this week, the city and the fans?
I knew that the first two events that we would probably do when we came back would be Florida and Texas. So Houston has always been our go-to place. And Tillman Fertitta called me a couple months ago and said, Houston needs you, man. We need the UFC. So that's why I was originally planning to come here first. I had talked to your governor, who had opened up the state, and I was working on getting this Houston show done. And it looked like we were going to come here first. But that didn't work out, so we ended up in Jacksonville and then here second. But the state has always been really good to the UFC, and the city of Houston has been unbelievable to us. So it's good to be back. It was good to be in here tonight. It was good to be here this week. And me and all my staff and everybody involved had a blast here this week.
Thank you.
Hey, here to the left or right, or one of them.
Hey, yep, gotcha.
Oliveira, obviously UFC champion now from Brazil. There was like a little bit of a lull for Brazil for a little while, for a couple of years. Is there a little bit of a resurgence with Oliveira and Figueiredo possibly?
I don't know if there's ever been a lull in Brazil. I mean, these guys have been dominant in this sport since day one. But a lull is when half the champions aren't Brazilian, I guess. But I don't know if there's ever going to be a time when Brazil doesn't have some sort of dominance in the UFC.
What do you do now with Michael Chandler? I mean, he came so close to winning that fight tonight. He came close to being UFC champion. Where do you go with him?
Well, listen, he's a great kid. He's one of the best in the world. And, he's not going anywhere. There's a lot of fun fights to make with him still. The big complaint going into this fight was that he didn't have enough experience in the UFC. So if he won, the good part would have been there's tons of guys who didn't fight yet. I mean, I guess that's still the good part. There's still lots of matchups for him.
75K was the bonuses for tonight. Why the bump?
Tony Ferguson, Dana White privilege.
That was a pretty good line.
That was fucking incredible. Incredible. It's one of the best I've ever heard.
Had you heard that before?
No, I've never, no. Rampage used to call me Dana, it's good to be white. That's the second best one.
Last thing for me, a couple of weird scores from the judges tonight, and which is, when you guys go to Texas, that kind of happens pretty frequently. I mean, there are good judges in Nevada and other places. Like, why not? Instead of having some of the local guys, and the guy that scored that Lando Vannata fight for Burundi 30-27, I think he's only judged 5 events in his life. Why not find somebody instead of having the local guy?
Yeah, that's a problem. I agree with you 100%. And I know that Mark Ratner is working with these guys, on stuff like that to try to make it better.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Hey Dana, just one question. Now that tonight's come and gone, do you think we get some sort of answer with what's next for Justin Gaethje, or are we going to wait till the fight in July?
Ask me that again, Jamal. What'd you say?
Do you think we'll get an announcement for what would be next for Justin Gaethje, or after tonight, or do you think we'll wait for what goes on in July?
I don't know. I honestly don't know the answer to that question. Let us get back to Vegas, matchmaking meeting on Tuesday, and we'll see where we go.
Dana, with the way tonight went, and obviously the crowd, is it out of the question to bring a show back to Texas by the end of this year?
I tell you guys all the time, man. I'll come to Texas every weekend. I love this place. Again, it's all going to depend on how the rest of the country and the rest of the world plays out over the next 6 to 8 months. I could see us doing Texas and Florida again this year if stuff doesn't change. Cool? Have a safe trip home, everybody. Thank you, guys.